it's pretty commonly known, accepted, and celebrated that June is Pride Month. We have Pride parades, events of all sort, all kinds of different merchandise and stuff. And yes, well, of course, there are problems with rainbow capitalism and things of that nature. It is, of course, the benefit for the majority of people in general, and of course the LGBTQ plus community, that Pride is more of a commercially acceptable and profitable thing because it gets it into the public consciousness, and ultimately it's a good thing. You have exposure to that community and things of that nature, and it's all well and good. But there's another thing special about the month of June. I wasn't aware of this, as many people probably weren't either. But we'll get into that in a minute here. Hey everyone, my name's Tristan Verstappen, and I have a lot to say about many things. June is Pride Month, and that is awesome. But June is also Men's Health Month. I thought it was specifically Men's Mental Health Month. Isn't it? Well, in any case, we're talking about men's mental health. Why are we talking about men's mental health? Well, because there are a lot of people, a lot of men that are genuinely struggling with a lot of different things. They're struggling with feelings of inadequacy because they don't make enough, or they're not far enough along in life, or they're single, or what have you. And there are plenty of people, we've seen it with Andrew Tate, but we've seen it with other people as well, who will grift and prey on men's loneliness. And a lot of them will use that to bring men to things like the alt-right and stuff like that. It's been said before, and I very much agree with the idea that basically the alt-right just in general, and fascism and all this stuff, really thrives on male insecurity. So it is very important to combat that. And even if it didn't, it's still very important to combat that because, why the hell shouldn't we, right? So these are the kind of things we're going to talk about, specifically some of men's valid concerns and issues that they have that are kind of blown out of proportion. So check this out. Do we have audio? We don't have audio. Okay, cool. So this is a little TikTok. I don't know how people do this, by the way, TikToks, where it's just like little screens that you can go through. But in any case, so we have, the woman to the man, I want marriage. Okay. I want kids. Okay. They have a family. He's working. I imagine it looks like maybe he might not be working. He might be doing a myriad of other things, but it looks like primarily he's working. I believe she's talking to him. I think trying to get his attention, possibly. We have him hard at work. He's doing some kind of yard work, I guess, with this. He's doing some kind of woodwork, some kind of dirt. I don't know, man. And here he is walking the dog. I know that one. I know that's got to be walking the dog. And here he is at actual work too. Basically, he's working hard in general, right? He comes home, he's tired, wants to talk, wants attention, playing with the kids. She says the romance is gone. Oh, this is her talking to another girl. The romance is gone, and he doesn't give me enough attention. Other girl says, yeah, girl, you deserve better. Facebook, we have this guy. You're so beautiful, I can't stop thinking about you. She says, stop, I'm married. You probably know where this is going already, but here she is, possibly yelling at him for going golfing. He says, come on, let me come over for coffee while he's at work. Okay, but just for coffee and chat. Obviously, it's not going to be that. Jesus. So the guy finds out about it. How could you do this to me? He made me feel special. Divorce. She gets all the money. He's left with nothing. She's left with the house, the dog, and the new man. The kids are going to hate me, the girl thinks. They say, we miss daddy. She tells them, your daddy is living a new life now. He doesn't have time for you. He's actually working very hard, drinking and watching TV, apparently. It's your father's fault because he mistreated me and ignored me for years. So then, thank you for everyone for the support. Some other guys like, what an asshole. It sucks that you had to go through that. I'll always be there for you. Yeah, you have white knights, of course. Uh, her talking to the kids. Your dad is probably out there with a new girlfriend while I take care of your kids. Wait, take care of your kids? Just take care of you kids. He's clearly not. You know, she's living the life still, right? Um, Guy says I'm depressed and lonely and I don't know what to do. Other guy says try online dating. Guy says plenty of fish. Woman says, "Are you fucking? Oh my god, I fucking hate TikTok. I hate. Oh my god, it's so bad. Get it together, TikTok. This is ridiculous." So I have plenty of fish. Don't even bother if you're shorter than 6'2". You don't have a hot body. Oh, and don't have a hot body. Must have a lot of money and treat me like a princess. My kids always come first. Now, here's the thing about all this, right? Um, these are all things that, whether or not they happen or not, or how often they happen, they are things that many men, and I'll be honest with you, myself included, are very concerned about. I have been in a engagement where I was cheated on. And I've seen many of these things primarily online, but I've read horror stories that men have gone through of things like divorce where the woman takes all the money and the kid. Now, I don't want kids, mind you, but divorce where the woman takes all the money. Um, False allegations and accusations actually ruining somebody's life. The difficult, and I'll tell you, I'll tell you the one I've actually seen personally. I've seen this. Many people have seen this shit. In fact, there was this thing I just saw. I think I saved it. See if I can go to my. As a man, what's the hardest thing about being single? The loneliness sometimes. Come on, dude. Can we not? No, where's the one? Okay, I can't find it. But I saw this post on Reddit on Ask Men, where there's a woman being like, "Hey, I'm getting into online dating. What are some things that I shouldn't say?" And it was all men saying things like, "Okay, you definitely don't want to do the whole like, if we don't have this astrology sign, we won't match." Or you need to be this height, make this amount of money, like all this stuff, blah blah blah. Like, and I get why women do it, right? It's to weed out men that are going to be, you know, put off by that and not, try or what have you. It's a way to, it's shit testing. It's like upfront shit testing. I get it. It's still shitty in my opinion, right? And it's just as dumb and shitty and stupid when guys do the whole like don't want a woman that's this and that, and it's like, the expression, you get more flies with honey. Well, yeah, but I've seen this. I've seen this in online dating. There are absolutely women like this that are just so entitled. And let's be honest, these are bitches. Like these are not like, yeah, they are people that are like just actually horrible, awful people that you probably really wouldn't want to date anyway. But yeah, it's bad. And women like this, and again, these horror stories and stuff that do have some level of truth to them, you'll have people, like we'll get to them in a minute here, that will use these and push this narrative that like all women are like this or things like that. And it is very easy for those people to be lured into like the alt-right and many other different things that ultimately hurt them and, other people as well. So, she's like, hey kids, or he's, hey kids, daddy loves you and misses you a lot, whatever, dad. We know that you have a new girlfriend and don't have time for us. So he texts her, why did you tell the kids that I have a new girlfriend and don't have time? And she's like, because it's probably true, and don't try to talk bad about me or to them, or you'll never see them again. So he's all mad, right, about the, support that she's getting. Yeah. Whether or not these things happen or how often they happen, a lot of men are terrified of them happening. They're also terrified about things like, how do we properly approach things like dating, and how do we properly approach really just living in general without being thought of as a creep, or without having the rug pulled out from under us? Because the reality is, in a lot of situations, the way that it seems is that if you're in a relationship and there's a divorce, for example, woman has the upper hand. And the woman has the upper hand in general, socially speaking, if nothing else. And let's be honest, a lot of that is guys siding with her because they want to get in her pants. Like, let's be real. That's what a lot of white knighting and a lot of men are like, oh yeah, he's such an... Like, I mean, these guys here that are giving her support, do you think they're giving her support because they genuinely are supporting her? No, they want to be next. Like, that really is what a lot of this comes down to. So here's another one. Can we play? I fucking hate TikTok.
I'm sorry.
Why don't you ever talk about the men that don't pay child support?
Because it's women like you who spread your legs with guys like that. Why don't you ever talk about the responsibility of women who choose irresponsible males to procreate with and then complain later when they're irresponsible?
No.
The women who have a one-nighter with a bartender or a guy on a motorcycle or a musician, and then you complain later on the guy's a deadbeat. He was a deadbeat to begin with.
Nobody can ever talk to you because you don't let any...
People talk to me all day long. You can't talk to me.
It is odd to me, by the way, that the guy's doing like gutter work while this TikTok is so weird, man. Like, the videos they'll play while they have audio that has nothing to do. It's I don't know. It's so odd, but whatever the case. The actions performed in this video are performed by professionals because he's on a roof cleaning gutters. Whatever. Anyway, so the thing is with this, there's some truth to this, right? Where, yes, women will often either hook up with or even date men that they will say, for example, they are not interested in or what have you. In fact, I'm going to let this play. I shouldn't put it that way. Yeah, where they'll like publicly say, like maybe on a podcast or something or what have you, or they'll say like on social media in general, they'll be like, oh yeah, I would never go for that kind of guy. And it's like, well, actually you will because they turned you on. You know what I mean? Guys will do the same thing where they'll be like, oh, I wouldn't go for like the, the bad girl type, which would be like, well, there's a bad girl type as well, but come on.
No, I'm trying to talk to you and you're talking over...
Dear, don't tell me you have to do a radio show. I've been doing this for 25 years.
Are you really not gonna...
I don't need your help.
Okay,
Okay, fine. Just real quick. Where is it?
please just say this. I was married once before, okay?
Mm-hmm.
My husband and I had a child together.
Right.
After I was tired of him beating me for 2 years, I left him.
Really? But why did you tolerate it for 2 years? Can you tell me why you tolerated being beaten for 2 years? I'd like to hear about this.
My answer to that is because I was young and stupid.
Okay, I agree with you.
There you go.
You were stupid. No doubt about it. And now what are you going to complain that he doesn't pay child support? A guy who beat you for 2 years? Imagine that. The guy is irresponsible.
So the thing about this is, man, it's the problem is with many things, as it goes with many things, a lot of people look at this stuff in very black and white ways, when in reality there's a shit ton of gray to it. In this instance, is it true that often women will fall for men who are going to just turn out to be shitty people? Yes. Is it their fault? Not exactly. See, a lot of people can end up in these situations where they can be with a partner where they thought they were one way, and then they just flip on them, and they turn on them, and they turn out to be super like abusive and all these different things. Or someone will have red flags, and you'll overlook those red flags because they're hot, or you're lonely and you just need someone. Like, those things do happen. So, yeah. Can we...
Right.
He beat me for 2 years, and now that deadbeat doesn't pay.
Why is it my
There's your big concern. Now we see why you're so upset about this. You chose a manifestly irresponsible, violent individual to procreate with. Then you're amazed that the guy doesn't send you child support. You're
What's funny, though, by the way, is a lot of the guys that will agree with this stuff will also not agree, will also be against things like abortion and just women's healthcare in general. If you want women to not have, because all right, a lot of women, a lot of people in general have what others refer to as a hoe phase, if you will, where, you know, basically you're just kind of like, you know, you're sleeping around, you're doing your thing, you're just kind of, you know, seeing, you know, maybe you're dating around, whatever the case, right? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I want to do that myself. Once I get into shape and everything, I'm absolutely gonna, you know, I'm 25 and I have a lot of lost time to make up for. I'll be 26 by the time I'm finally there, I think. But in any case, people who do this, people who will get into relationships, like I said, there could be all kinds of reasons why a woman who hooked up with a bad boy doesn't have, like, now has a child that they didn't know, and they could have been stuck in that relationship where they were getting beaten and stuff like that. So it is a type of victim blaming, and it is really wrong to put like all the blame on her. But it is true that people in general do need to be on the lookout for red flags, and when they see them, run.
still, you know what, dear? You were young and stupid. Now you're old and stupid. I mean, you're
She
still
doesn't sound old, by the way.
stupid.
Oh my God,
You are still stupid. You expect a guy who beat you for 2 years now to suddenly become responsible.
not even believe
You're
that's not-
insane.
it is
But that's not what she's saying. Part of the problem with like some of these radio hosts and these podcasts, I saw this tweet a while ago, which I do agree with. I've noticed this trend as well, that it's becoming a pretty big trend right now to get women on podcasts, especially podcasts, but radio shows too, but podcasts, and to basically just make them look dumb by, you know, Fresh and Fit do it all the time. It's their bread and butter. But there are a lot of podcasts that are doing this. We're actually going to look at one in a little bit here too. But yeah, because the thing is, like, and it's really tough in this environment. I get it. I'm not good with like live debate and stuff like that. This is why I don't do debates with people. It's a lot easier when you're like in the proper headspace and you're not kind of like, you know, in the moment, and you're like having to like immediately kind of think about all this stuff and everything. But you can like take time to like, okay, how am I going to respond to this, like I'm doing right now? Because in this scenario, she's kind of getting railroaded by this guy. You know, he's not really giving her a chance to explain herself. I have no idea who this guy is. Apparently, Tom Lakis? I don't know.
unbelievable.
You can't believe what?
I can't believe that you're still on the radio.
I'm on the radio because I'm right, and I'm on the radio because I've got millions of listeners. That's why.
Yeah, well, you just lost one.
Dear, you're not the target demographic. I really don't give a rat's ass. I'll bet your husband would agree with me. I'll bet your ex-husband would really agree with me. She hung up.
That doesn't... Just because somebody agrees with you doesn't mean that it's right. Like, again, he didn't even really give her a chance to talk. But the key thing with this is that... Oh, there's the audio. These kind of... Okay, can we stop? Okay. Hey. The key thing about this is that these kind of issues do happen, and these are the kind of things that men are concerned about. And I mean, look at the comments for like... Oh, here. And if we look at the comments for this one, right, 0% growth commenting, truth. Unfortunately, reality for men, savage true. You know, this is the one about the guy that got cheated on and the woman got away with it, essentially. Let's be real. And I want to be clear, right? Obviously, men can cheat and be horrible people. Like, obviously. I talk about this all the time, but women are not angels, men are not demons, women aren't demons either. And we're going to get into some more of this stuff later. because this is why it's important to discuss this stuff from a standpoint of like looking at both sides, if you will, because you have people like this account, MK Ultra Money. Wait, what? No, I don't know. Women posting L's. Now you see the kind of content they post, right? Where they're clearly transphobic, but they'll have. My therapist told me in the past. My therapist told me I should get a divorce. Not maybe, but you need to. I did, and she moved in on my ex. Not exactly ethical, wouldn't you say? Now, I will say, some of the posts here, people actually call out. Just got dumped. Oh, wait. OF coming soon. Hit me up now for private content. Just got dumped. How's your day doing? You know. A lot of this stuff is where my ex posted ads saying I was a prostitute and men started turning up at my door. Some of this stuff is people have commented on them being like, "Yo, you're actually not like this isn't an L for men." But oh Jesus Christ, men are not strong enough to handle the sexual past of a woman they love. This is not a debate. You misspelled. I was a cum depository, and now no one will commit to me. Yeah, like you know, this kind of like slut shamey, like women are gonna have a past, men are gonna have a past. Your past doesn't define you. Your future does. You know, you can. And you know the concept of like a woman being like ruined and stuff like that is just so steeped in obviously misogyny and puritanism and stuff. And we're going to talk about some weird stuff that a lot of people, both people on the right and the left, some of the ways that they talk when it comes to sex and how puritanical even the left can be. But that's for another day. So these are the kind of people that these men will turn to. Again, we had people like Andrew Tate, but check this out.
Woman absolutely fall in love with you. Who's daddy's little slut? Guys don't want a woman to be a slut. Guys want a woman to be his slut. The next phrase is something I've been using my entire life. I'll tell the girl, repeat after me, and then I'll say something that I want her to say. Repeat after me, I'm daddy's good little girl. Be careful with these phrases, because these phrases can make a woman absolutely fall in love with you.
Okay. So here's the thing. I'm all for dirty talk. I'm a huge fan of it. And talking like that in bed can be really hot. But you don't just say that. And also, you might be familiar with this guy. You might recognize his face. There might be a reason for that. As I tweeted, two things. One, if you're into this, and this is fine, but this isn't the way to go about it. Two, why is Sterling Knight, the porn star, trying to be a dating advice guy now? Obviously, I can't show this here, but I looked it up, and he's still making. Or no, he isn't. Isn't he, or is he? I can't remember. Whether he is or isn't anymore, he is. He's a porn star, and that doesn't have that. You know, we're pro sex work here and all that good stuff. That's not to say that him doing that is wrong or that he can't now give advice. You know, any of that stuff. It's just. It's odd that he would go from. He just doesn't seem like the kind of person for that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just. Because a lot of these. The reason I say that is because a lot of these guys are very, like, you know, they're very nofap and stuff like that, right? And they're very, like, slut shammy and stuff. It's like, dude, you were being paid to have sex with women who were having sex with a bunch of other dudes, too. Like, you know. And you know it was good. Like, you know it wasn't like being with these women. Now, granted, I don't know if he says those things specifically, but I know that generally speaking, that's how a lot of these guys talk. The grift continues. Legion of men. The kinds of men society celebrates these days. They get one day, you know, fallen soldiers, Memorial Day. They get a whole month, you know, Pride Month. Well, for one, there's a few reasons why Pride is a whole month. The main thing is it's about ultimately normalizing being LGBTQ plus, because right now it's seen as odd. In fact, for those of you that don't know, and I'm sure most people probably would, but maybe you don't, the word queer originally just means weird. Granted, gay originally just meant happy, but besides the point. And part of me would like the LGBTQ community to reclaim the word queer, but a part of me also doesn't want them to, because queer does mean weird, and if the whole point is that it's supposed to be that, like, hey, it's not weird to be gay, it's totally fine. It's not weird to be, you know, any other kind of LGBTQ. It's perfectly fine. Then yeah. But we can see the kind of content this person posts. They post, anti-LGBT stuff, anti-art or anti or sorry, um, fat phobic stuff, fat shaming stuff. Now, we have this person who's saying this community is making a difference. I found this community 2 months ago, starting da 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 da. They're saying it helped them, and you know what? Maybe it did. We have women talking about how they love when you hug a guy and he smells cologne, when you can still smell cologne, all this stuff about cologne. Look, I want to make this perfectly clear too, and I will definitely be talking about this more specifically in the near future as well. Women are just as perverted as men. And while this is another thing to get into more specifically later, the notion that women don't like sex or don't like it as much as men or all these different things, it just isn't true, at least not on a biological level. In fact, I believe that, and this is purely like speculation, but I believe that if anything, biologically speaking, women should be more inclined to have sex because reproduction. But because of social constructs, women are often very shameful of their sexual, shamed of their sexual desires, and it's really sad, but it absolutely happens. But these are the kind of men that these guys will turn to, and so, oh, what is this? Gorlock Strikes Back. We're in Entropy. To be my man, you gotta have 2 cars, no kids. Did she say this? And make at least 200,000. But did this person say that, or are you just taking a general quote? You know what I mean? Like, avoid women who are into astrology, crystals, and other stuff. None for me, thanks. I take complete responsibility for my behavior. So I mean, yeah, like I do. Like, yeah, that is pretty funny. And to be fair, I don't know what kind of content this person makes outside. Oh, okay. I see the kind of content they make. I see. Okay. So yeah, I don't know how this kind of stuff is what's the word I'm looking for? Positive in any way. I don't know how a guy could check this stuff out and be like, "Oh, thanks." Like, this stuff really helped me out, because it's not positive at all, but whatever. Some people who have looked at this perspective in a way that I think is very true and I very much agree with are people like I highly recommend this series, or this video, Male Dating and Sex Struggles: A Problem in Plain Sight. This is a very, very, very good video. It does a good job at calling out the bullshit with like the alpha male type of people, and it does a good job calling out concerns that men have, as well as offering solutions. And I think that is a very good thing to do. And these are reasons why I myself want to eventually do a my own series. Now, I want to do it as a completely free playlist, but I want to do a series on my own journey of going from where I started to, well, not where I'm at now, but where I'll be at that point. And I want to do a series called Pick Up for Progressives, because I understand the fears and the concerns. I understand how the right uses this stuff to lure lonely men in, and I really want to validate those concerns, those fears, those, like, all of that, but also offer hope and a better way, and just like, it's not as bad as you think. Yes, there are shady people out there. Yes, there are people that will take advantage of systems, and yes, in certain ways, stuff is kind of stacked against you. But there are ways that you can work to stack the deck in your favor. And I really want to get good at all of that myself so that I can put that out there properly for people like you watching this that will need that kind of that kind of stuff. It's also why my buddy who's helping me on my own journey with all this, and I will shout this man out every chance I get, because love the dude. Love the dude like a brother. Why my buddy Logan is so passionate about this kind of stuff too, because he sees a lot of the same stuff I do, where there is like a lot of shittiness and people that take advantage of like men's mental health and all this stuff. That he has this thing where he wants to focus on that, and it's not all about getting girls and getting in the gym and stuff. Like, that stuff will come, but it's about just developing yourself into a good, decent man at the end of the day. And I saw this video as well, and I just really wanted to go over this too, because man, it just really hit me. And if I don't end up having much to say about it, I'm not gonna. By the way, I am more than happy to go through this entire video and break it down if you guys want. It is an incredible video. I cannot recommend it enough. But I probably heard of School of Attraction before. I didn't know what kind of person they were, what kind of channel they ran, but from what I've seen thus far, it's actually pretty good. The stuff that he says in this video is just spot on, but let me actually play it here.
Hey guys, the day after I published last week's video, I was chilling on my couch, catching up on episodes of The Expanse, while simultaneously reading Reddit on my phone in complete violation of my pact with myself to lower my dopamine-seeking behavior, when I came across a fascinating Twitter conversation which was posted on Reddit. It's a dialogue written by a trans man who has been struggling to adjust to how life is for the average man. The uniqueness of his vantage point is, of course, that he spent the first 20-something years of his life as a woman before transitioning, so he knows what life is like for a woman from personal experience, something most of us guys have no frame of reference for.
I really like, by the way, you can tell even in the beginning, and he will get into this later too, but even in the beginning here, you have him like he's referring to the trans man properly. He's not misgendering them. He's explaining like they're trans. They did live the experience of a woman. Now they identify as a man and they are living their authentic experience, which is great. But he's like, this is a green flag, I would say, in a like a men's health, men's advice kind of thing.
I've long been an advocate of being sensitive and open about the struggles of women, rather than being
that right there too.
Judgmental. So this video is going to be different because I want to take a moment to validate just how tough life can be for men as well. So I'm going to share and discuss this man's insights into being a man in the USA. As always, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you've been enjoying my content. Let's get started by reading what Twitter user Scolish says. I'm pretty quiet about the fact I'm a trans man usually, but holy shit, I need to tell you about the culture shock I'm going through because it's blindsiding me. There's a huge sense of social isolation that comes with being perceived as male, because now people are subconsciously treating me as a potential predator. All strangers, no matter their gender, keep their guard up around me. It made me realize that there's no...
This is true. There have even been instances where men can be out with their own child, especially if it's a daughter, and have people like, they'll get weird looks, and they might even get like, some will even have the cops called on them. You can imagine, especially if they're black and they're with like a white, their white daughter or something. And they'll have all these things because there are a group of people, and there are some people on the left that do a very good job at pushing this narrative as well, that men are inherently predators, and that's just not true.
Inherent camaraderie in male socialization as there is in female socialization, unless of course it's in very specific environments. And the fact I don't ambiently experience this mutual kinship in basic exchanges anymore is an insanely lonely feeling. You know how badly this would have fucked up my mind if I had grown up with this? It's 4:30 a.m. and I'm mourning the loss of a privilege I didn't even know I had. Anyway, I'm gonna figure out how to navigate this. I don't know how yet, but I'm gonna.
Yeah, so I mean the reality is like, male privilege is a thing, white privilege is a thing, female privilege is also a thing. A lot of that comes down to like, listen, I know people will like, as a man who has never been able to experience things like, I know this is going to sound so trite, and some of it someone may get offended by, but some of it also people understand why men do it. But guys, I really need you to understand this. Like, to grow up in a world where the like people that aren't like you, women in this case, have doors just open for them, free drinks, they're given the benefit of the doubt in so many different social situations, like all kind of stuff. The idea is, and this one comment here nails it on the head. The idea is that women have inherent value, whereas men have to provide something in order to have value. The idea is that women just have value. Now, let's be real here. When we talk about this, we're talking about attractive cis women. However, and people like Contra have talked about this too, ContraPoints, about how like her experience, especially in the dating market, as presenting as a man versus presenting as a woman. And it's just like, it's rough out here, man. It is. Like, obviously there are tons of issues that women deal with and all that stuff, but like, the problem is too many people only focus on one side or the other. You have many people that only focus on men's issues and many people that only focus on women's issues. This is why I say that I am a feminist. I guess I'm an MRA a little bit, but ultimately I'm an egalitarian. I believe in equality for everybody, and I believe in calling out and holding everybody accountable for everything. Like, these are the things that I believe, and I believe in a world in which all people, regardless of sex, gender, race, anything, can be equal and happy and healthy and just live our best lives. We only get one shot at this, and we should have the best life that we can. However you want to live that, as long as you're not hurting others in the process, go at it, king, queen, or monarch.
Okay, so then a bit later, after some conversation with others, he says, frankly, this is something I would have never understood without living the experience. It's not blatantly clear to me that most cis men probably experience chronic emotional malnutrition. They're deprived of social connection just enough for it to seriously fuck with their psyches, but not enough for them to realize that it's happening and what's causing it. It's like they're starving, but don't know this because they've always been served 3 meals, except those meals have never been big enough. This deprivation comes from all sides of the aisle, by the way. In the case of women, when I'm out in public and interact with women, all of them come off as incredibly aloof, cold, and mirthless. I've never experienced this before, even though I know exactly what this composure is. The armor that keeps away creepy-ass men. As someone who used to wear it myself, I know this armor is 100% impersonal. Nobody likes wearing it. And I can say with absolute certainty that women would dump the armor in favor of unconditional companionship with men if doing this didn't run risk of actual assault. Trust me when I say, women aren't just being needlessly guarded. But I only have a complete understanding of this context because I've experienced female socialization. If I hadn't, I would have thought this coldness was a conspiracy against me, devised by roughly half of the human population. Even now, with all that I know about navigating the world as a woman, I'm failing to convince my monkey brain that this armor isn't social rejection. And as for male socialization, again, it seems taboo for a man to be platonically intimate with men for reasons I've yet to fully understand. But I think it boils down to A, the fact that society teaches boys that it's not okay to be soft with each other, and B, garden variety homophobia. Our media only shows men being intimate with one another when they're teamed up against dire situation. And I bet real money is a huge reason why men gravitate toward activities that simulate being teamed up against an opposing force. By the way...
Yeah. And that part about not understanding the experience, you can't just yell at people. Like, there are a lot of people, especially in like the Gamergate massive SJW days. This is why I say the rise of anti-SJWs is SJW's fault. You can't just like address issues and yell at people who are causing the issues while like demonizing everybody. Like demonizing all men, all cis people, all straight people, all white people, anything like that. And I know people like, I've known people personally, but also I know there's a person, I'm pretty sure they're a troll at this point in my comments, that is constantly doing that to myself as well as to other commenters. And I'll tell you, if you're watching, Ian, I believe your name is, if you have an issue with me, you can definitely comment about me, but do not harass my other commenters. Just don't do it. But talked about that person before, even made fun of them, and they were like, anyway, whatever, it doesn't matter. They're a white knight, as far as I can tell. You can't just address issues and demonize entire swaths of people. Most of the reasons that there are issues between, the real reason that there are like a shit ton of issues between men and women specifically really is lack of communication and lack of understanding. Which, I mean, and that's true for literally anything, but that's what it is, right? The idea that like, oh, men are from Venus, women are from Mars, like all that shit, like no, it's fucking dumb. Like we're all human beings. It's just like you need to explain your situation, and the other person needs to listen to your situation. You need to be able to explain and understand things. Like, yeah, it's very easy to think that like because women are standoffish is because they don't like you. Like you know, and it could be, but it's also like, man, the reason that men have to work so hard to garner proper attention from other women is because of other men. Like, I mean, it really is. And it's reasons why we need to hold other men accountable for shitty behavior. But we also need to give room for people to like have a weird cringe moment when trying to flirt or date or whatever the case without having it be, oh, it's assault, oh, it's harassment. Is it? Or is it just somebody trying to figure shit out? You know, were they harassing you? Were they really like doing that horrible of a thing? Or were they just a little bit awkward? Because a lot of men are legitimately fearful, and I get it, I've been here too, are legitimately fearful of flirting or trying to approach women at all because they're worried that they're going to be labeled as some for some harassment. And especially with social media and everything right now, I mean, you get people like who can just glance at like a woman at the gym and they'll be like, oh, he's checking me out. Which, first of all, if you give like a quick glance at someone or something that's like attractive, like, okay, yeah, duh, right? Like, but I mean, if you're leering, like, yeah, that's wrong. But like, people glance at people all the time, and even and if you're attractive and people are gonna look at you because they find you attractive, yeah, don't be surprised. You're attractive. They're like, that's a good thing, you know. Now, of course, if they go and like up to you and like start harassing you, or like they try to talk to you, hey, I'm not really interested, that's a different story. But we're not we're not talking about that right now. That'll come later. I just really like the way this guy's talking about all this and breaking this down because he is spot on.
This is something I agree with completely, but I can talk about that another day. But men are not machines of war. Yes, testosterone absolutely gives you dumb bastard brain, but that just makes you want to skateboard a wagon down a hill or duct tape your friends to the wall, not kill someone. The human species looks so much colder standing from this side. I can see how men might convince themselves that their feelings of emotional desperation is personal weakness, as opposed to a symptom they're all experiencing from white imperialism. Because this human connection, this frith, is as essential for our well-being as water is. So sick. How sick. I want to destroy this garbage. I hope that this hits some of you right in the feels, as it did for me when I read this. My whole life as a man, I've been aware of feeling alone. I mean, I have friends, I have family, but there's always a sense of being an island for me, a sense of emotional isolation, and I'm pretty sure I'm not alone in this feeling. And this is serious. This shouldn't just be an, oh, shucks, us poor guys, and it shouldn't be a, oh, how sad for men, but us women face getting assaulted by men issue. This is real, and shouldn't be pushed aside, and it's pernicious in ways that aren't even immediately obvious. For starters, let's talk about men's health for a minute. Think about how obvious it is to us all that smokers will most likely die early. It's common sense today, and over decades, many people have dedicated their lives to creating public awareness of this fact. But research clearly shows that loneliness is directly linked to early mortality. In fact, at levels that are eerily similar to regular smokers. In short, being lonely is as bad for your health as being a smoker. And we aren't just talking about literal loneliness. For example, if you're in your city and don't have any friends yet, we're talking about feeling lonely. So you could be surrounded by friends, but if you still feel emotionally alone, then this health damaging effect still applies. And do you know what other impacts emotional isolation?
There's a really good image. I don't care what you think about the artist or the song. Actually, the song itself is really good too. But there's a really good image that I think illustrates the feeling of being alone, even though you're around a bunch of people. Now, in this case, this is a song about his dad dying, but MGK's lonely. You can see how it's playing the visualizer. He's at this party and he's got all these people that are just around him, and yet he's lonely. It doesn't affect him because yeah, he's got these people, and some of them are hot girls too. But like he's lonely because it's not just about having attractive people around or having like having a girlfriend or any of these different things. It's about emotional connection. It's about intimacy, which yes can include sex as well, but it's not just about that. And a lot of people do also really hammer on that aspect of it too. But it is part of it. And again, if you want to have like your whole phase or whatever case, by all means. If you want to never settle down in a relationship and just, have a ton of casual sex, that's fine too. Whether you're male, female, cis, trans, het, whatever you are, like, it doesn't matter. But what this guy's talking about with all this just really, really hits it on the head.
Has. It exaggerates extreme behavior. The violence, assaults, both physical and sexual, high school shootings, in fact, many of the more extreme aspects of male behavior that are so often blamed on toxic masculinity are in fact side effects we should expect when half the population is suffering from chronic loneliness and emotional isolation. I'm making this video because this is something I care deeply about. This is 100% aligned with my life purpose as a man. I feel like this is one of the major root causes of so much suffering for us guys. And I'm not blaming women here. Men and women in all this, we're a part of a dynamic system. We used to live in smaller tribes, but the only way
I love that. Again, these are green flags for a proper, like, men's advice kind of channel or video where he even says, I'm not blaming women. Like, these are systemic issues. Dude, that's the same kind of shit I say. Like, it's not a men versus women issue. There are systemic issues and other issues socially that have pitted us against each other. And we shouldn't be pitted against each other because we all exist in this world together. And it's so wild to me how the concept of being afraid of somebody who's attractive is absolutely wild. And I know how this will sound to some women that especially have experienced horrific things with men, but there are a lot of men who will just be legitimately terrified of a beautiful woman, of an attractive woman. I mean, look, currently, I'll be completely upfront and honest about this. Currently, when I see a woman that I'm attracted to and I think, damn, she's hot, it's not followed by, I'm going to go and approach her, I'm going to talk to her, I'm going to see if I can get her number or take her home or whatever the case. It's followed by, currently, damn, she's hot. She wouldn't be into me now, but I'm working on it. I'm working toward where I can get girls like that. And I know some people hear that, and you'll think, oh, that's very trite. But these are some things that, because so many women are inundated with attention, a lot of times not even wanted, it is very difficult for a lot of them to empathize with the other side of that spectrum, where being a man, you very much have to seek out attention. And you have to do it in the right way, of course. You have to be very specific about how you do it. I have talked with my therapist a lot about this idea where he thinks that, well, he thinks, and my buddy Logan, as I showed before, he thinks that if I just like got out of my own head, I would absolutely kill it with women. And I'm sure I will when I feel ready to actually like put myself back out there in the dating world again. But currently I'm not there. And I took a lot of work to get to where I am now with my like thoughts and feelings on all this stuff. There are many men who are so anxious, so scared, so nervous, so lonely, and so tired, and they feel like there's nothing they can do because they see these horror stories, they hear these things that women say, and we'll get to some of that stuff in a minute too, and they hear women say, oh, I want a guy that's like such and such, and they see like, you know, men in like romance movies and all this stuff, and you know, they're blue-pilled, if you will, and then they see the kind of men that women actually go for, and they don't realize that it's like, well, do you understand why they liked that man, though? That's like more of an asshole or something. Like, do you understand what? No, you don't. So like, we'll get into that in a minute here too, but like, it's absolutely wild. And I really like the way this guy is discussing this.
Small tribes to survive was to ensure they didn't get attacked by other tribes nearby. So the men had to become more war ready, more fighting capable, and ready for violence. So,
oh, I'm sorry, but I wanted to get into the guy talking about that tribe thing. Remember, it is insane to me to think, and again, it happens to me too, but it is wild that this concept exists where you can see somebody and you can think they're extremely attractive and you don't want to approach them. Like, the fact that you want them in some way makes you afraid of approaching them. It is the weirdest, like, I mean, when you think about that, and like how that actually looks, like what that means, it's such an odd concept, isn't it? I mean, we only do this with people that we want some kind of relationship with. We don't do this with, like, you're not gonna be at a car dealership and see a really nice car and think, I really want that. But what's funny is we don't do this with jobs either. I don't think anybody's ever seen a job and they think, man, I really want that job. But they're not going to take me, so I'm not even going to apply. Like, why do we do this with people? It's such an odd thing, but it's something that many men especially struggle with, and we really, really need to not get over it, but we need to overcome it. And I really like the way that this guy handles this entire topic. It's very good.
So we as men had to suppress our emotions for the greater good. We had to become harder and less emotional. If we didn't do this, we got subsumed by societies who did. This is why I hate that women blame men for the patriarchy, since it was a decision men and women had to make in early societies in order to survive. And that decision kept us alive back then, but hurts both genders today. But I don't want to get off track here. The point is that we have a feedback loop, which...
So fucking good. He even points out that the patriarchy exists, basically kind of created out of... Well, I wouldn't say it was created out of necessity, but that men and women both play a part in it, and that it hurts both men and women. Like, fucking incredible. Like, I'm all for, like, yeah, smash the patriarchy, sure, but, like, it hurts everybody. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, yeah.
The Twitter poster points out, women get cold and aloof and avoidant of men to self-protect from the dangerous men that do exist. But that in turn creates men who feel emotionally isolated and rejected. Some of those men go on to become dangerous, which again reinforces women's coldness. And this is our predicament. We as men can't control women, and nor should we try. But we can take responsibility for ourselves.
I love just the little things, man. Just the little fucking things. We can't control women, and we shouldn't even try. Fucking, like, you don't understand how rare this is in, like, a men's advice channel. Again, just so many green flags I'm seeing from this guy. This is incredible.
And our own well-being. We need emotional intimacy amongst ourselves. We need to push other men to be okay with emotional intimacy. I don't buy this idea that women are more emotional than men. Sure, women have a hormonal cycle that causes more emotional fluctuation than you'd expect in men, but we have just as many emotional needs as women do. I know, because I've...
Men actually have, you know what, let me see if I can find it here. Men actually have periods too. We don't bleed, but not those kind of, oh my god, no, but we have... We don't have like that kind of, we have emotional periods, is what it comes down to. It's not irritable male syndrome, yeah. It's not it's basically where like we get like the emotional part of periods, but we don't get like the pain part. Is essentially what it comes down to. But we have hormonal cycles too. And obviously, you know, trans men have the physical kind of period too. But
I've learned that I do, and I'm a man. The first time in my life that I felt emotional intimacy was when I did a men's work course at the age of 23. It involved a group of men coming together every week for 7 weeks. In this group, we'd learn to get present together, like super present with every other man. We'd stare silently into the eyes of the other man, just feeling what he was feeling behind those eyes. We'd begin to share what was going on in our lives from a very vulnerable space. We talk about our mothers and...
What this guy is talking about right now, by the way, these were examples of positive masculinity. I'm sure you've heard a lot about toxic masculinity, but positive masculinity is very much a thing that exists as well, and something that needs explored more.
And our fathers.
And praised.
Our exes, all the pains we'd felt but had never really talked about with anyone, save perhaps a therapist if we were lucky. I felt truly heard for the first time in my life, and those men didn't just hug me and say, it's all okay, dude, you'll be fine. They not only made me feel heard, but they pushed me to grow, to have compassion for myself and for others.
This is something that my friend group and I really, really do a very good job with, is we really are good at being there for each other. We really are. We're like a group of brothers. The four of us. They're my best friends. We really have just constantly exude positive masculinity, especially my friend that's like helping me with all this stuff specifically. But we're there for each other. We care about each other. We'll say I love you like pretty frequently, you know, and like little things like that go a long way. It really is. It's like, you know, they say the devil's in the details. That's true for things like this too. Positive things, even.
I grew a lot as a man in those 7 weeks. If I hadn't have experienced those 7 weeks, I would still be angry at women for hurting me. I'd still be angry with my parents. I'd still feel like I'd never had anyone to hear and understand me. And most importantly, I never would have become a men's coach, so you wouldn't be hearing me speak today. I continued to meet with these men every month for another 6 months. Then the group faded and I was once again alone. Alone unless I had a great girlfriend by my side, which I was lucky enough to have most of the time. But the companionship of one woman, one person, cannot be enough for us men. We need male intimacy too. We cannot and should not expect one single woman to be able to take care of all of our emotional needs. That's unreasonable and leads to many marriage and relationships falling apart.
So fucking good. I mean, look at he's even talking about like not loading up a woman with emotional labor, like all that. Like, I mean, oh my god, it's so good. This is so chef's kiss. This is such a good video.
I recently created a live-in retreat event where I take a group of men through this journey of digging into the deepest parts of themselves and get to be seen and pushed to greatness by the other men.
Yeah. So then he goes on about how he has this little, like, you know, men's retreat. Which, by the way, a men's retreat doesn't have to be a bad thing. I know a lot of the times this, men's groups and stuff do unfortunately a lot of times turn into like women-hating groups, but they don't have to. They can be really positive, really healthy, really good. I went on one men's retreat group, and this was back when I was religious. I went on this group with my church. It was so good. It was so positive. It wasn't like there was no negative talk of women. There was no anything bad. It was just such a very healthy, positive masculine experience. It was great. And yeah, those kind of things can be really good. I'm not saying they need to be done, but like those kind of things can be really good for people. But I did say we talk about some of the stuff here.
Well, I mean, I feel like personally, like when they like tear you down.
So again, like I said, podcasts. There really is a thing right now of making women just look really, really dumb.
How long are you
willing
to wait to give it up
we'll
to
get
a
to
guy?
this. Where podcast hosts just make women look really, really dumb. And I think this is a good example of it. Because a lot of men will look at women like this, or women that are on Fresh and Fit, and they'll be representative women, and they'll think all women are like that, and that's not how it is.
Enough, like you genuinely feel like you can't get out and you can't do better, so you stay and you handle it because you're like, oh well, like no one else will put up with me like that.
But you're also attracted to guys who are like that from the jump too.
It's scary.
So
I don't know why.
So okay, you said all of them were assholes.
No, yeah,
were they exciting?
They were just very, very charming at first, like way too charming, and I didn't.
Okay, so that's the thing, right? She just said, her exes were assholes, but they were charming, and I didn't see
through it.
Okay, too charming.
Yeah, so too charming, and they didn't see through it. By the way, I like how they have. I'm pretty sure this is a sex doll, like a literal sex doll, on this whatever podcast. What the hell is this supposed to be? Like the Eye of Horus, and then some writing under it. By the way, I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. This guy, I can't remember his name. It's like Jack something or Jake something, or what is the guy? It's like, here, let me see if I can find. Oh, Scott Kramer, that's his name. Yeah, this is Scott Kramer. And Scott Kramer makes really good content, kind of about just whatever he wants, it seems like. I like his work. He's a pretty good dude. I've never gotten a bad vibe from him or anything like that. I haven't seen everything by him, but I watch his videos off and on, and yeah, I like his work. But I just wanted to point that out because, especially I know podcasts, and especially things like the Whatever podcast, kind of gets a bad rep. I don't think they're awful, and I do think we're going to want to look at the. We'll get to it. You'll see why we're covering this, why we're going over this.
What else? What are the traits? Were they good looking or
yes, very
good looking?
Okay, so we have this woman just admitting, like, what are the reasons she went for these assholes? Well, they were good looking, they were charming. Okay, cool. Keep that in mind. Good looking and charming.
Actually, the short dude I was talking about earlier is one of them.
Okay, he's a chat.
The short dude, by the way. So guys that are like, oh, you gotta be 6'3", blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. Like, no.
Yeah, I don't like
Short king, Jad.
He's an asshole. But
okay.
Yeah, they're really charming.
Stigmatized too?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're like super charming.
He was, she said he was very good in bed, essentially.
And they're like exactly like you, like their personality.
Like me?
No, like
Wait, what?
Like if I'm
talking,
talking,
say like me, right?
No, like me.
Okay, this part is extremely important. She's saying, okay, check this out.
But you said like you. Are you talking about me?
No, me. Like, okay, if you're talking
Flatter
to
you down and tell you what you want to hear. Mirror your actions, compliment you by behaving like you. Yeah.
Okay. No, not yeah.
Okay. What she is describing here is sociopathy. She is describing somebody who has the ability to change who they are and make somebody else think that they are a certain way, tell them what they want to hear, act the way they want them to act, all those different things. In order to like date them, get in their pants, whatever the case. And guys, it's not just a men thing. My last girlfriend did this to a T. It's part of the reason I have trust issues, I think. She did this to a T, where she became exactly the kind of woman that I wanted to be with. Well, okay, not exactly, but pretty damn close. And then she just changed. And she told me eventually, she was like, I was trying to be like the perfect girl for you. And I was like, well, I just wanted you to like me. And I was like, well, it worked. Made me fall in love with you. So like that kind of thing happens for men too. You got to be on the lookout. And now I'm not saying that she was a sociopath, but what this woman is describing here, a lot of men that do this, it's sociopathy that they're able to do that they're able to change who they are and like really get in your head and all that stuff. That is why. But let's look at that. What are the reasons that did she fall for him because he was a bad boy? Because no, she fell for him because he was good looking and he was charming. These are traits that you can achieve while still being a good person. These are traits that I am working on achieving more and more. I talked about this before, but what it really comes down to is that women don't want a bad boy. They also don't want a nice guy either. They don't want a nice guy. They don't want a pushover. They don't want anything like that. They want a good man who has an edge, and a good man who's going to like stand up for himself, stand up for her, take care of himself, take care of her, is in shape, is charming, all these different things. But like guys that get mad about this, you want a hot girlfriend too. You want somebody that you're, sexually and emotionally attracted to. You should, expect them to want the same. You just got to level yourself up.
There's a term for when men treat women so small, like what Sydney was saying when they stick around. It's called gaslighting. Oh yeah, but
that's not gaslighting. Gaslighting is a different thing, but I understand what she's getting at.
Women also stick around when men treat them nicely too.
You really just
I think a lot of girls that have a big ego like that. They like the challenge because most guys simp for them. New word in my vocabulary, that in cap. They kind of just bow down to their shit. But someone who kind of really treats them off because no one else gives them any kind of challenge, they kind of welcome that. Like, ooh, really? Like, okay, like I gotta get over on this guy because he's treating me differently, like dirt. Then all these other guys just bow down to my shit.
Right.
So there's a character flaw from the gate. So again, to try to pull reason out of something that's flawed from the gate, you're gonna go in circles. It's insanity.
And sometimes it's just that beautiful dance between like the cat and mouse as well.
Especially when you're younger or dealing with a younger vibe. Yeah.
I wonder if that isn't Scott Kramer. I might have gotten that wrong. That might not actually be Scott Kramer. I thought he was. He looked like him and it sounded like him, but maybe he isn't. I don't know.
Well, the life is caution to the wind, whatever. So, but ego is the base of a personality that thrives off that. Ooh, is that a challenge? Is it? So you're saying I'm not all that? Like, let me prove you wrong. Let me make you behave the way these other 10 guys behave. By the time I was done with them, when you don't break and fuck you, or you just
And that is desire. That's what creates it.
Right. So this is the thing, right? What he's talking about here, he's right to an extent, right? Women don't want a man who's going to fall all over them and everything, but it's not because they want someone to treat them like shit. It's because people falling all over them and everything, that's like, for one, it's like it's sad and it's pathetic, but also that's deifying them. That's not treating them like a human. When women say they want to be treated like a human being, they mean it. They want you to treat them like a human being. Not, treating them like a piece of shit isn't really treating them like a human being, although it's closer to treating them like a human being than deifying them and treating them like some perfect angel kind of thing that a lot of people do. And that is why the polarization is what causes that attraction in that way. But you can have that polarization, and you can work to achieve those things and garner that attraction without being abusive.
It's desire.
That's toxic.
it's one ego banter after another, and it's never going to come to a healthy relationship with that being, in my opinion, or not.
Okay, so you're saying when it's like really bad, you're treating them really bad.
Definition of toxic. The sex may be great, right? But if you guys try to sit down and have
He's actually, by the way, he is actually doing a good job at explaining like not to be toxic as well. That's pretty good.
Conversation, a decent dialogue, having dinner with friends, there's always an argument, one person's
wow,
the other one.
Yeah.
It all comes from that who's got the power. Whoever, it was in a movie, right? Any
Now, I will say, by the way,
relationship.
Obviously, for a lot of reasons, currently, most women, if we're talking not what they say, but what they would actually do, they'd go for this guy, especially as far as like attraction is concerned. But this guy could 100% turn that around. He could dress a little bit differently. He could style a little bit differently. He could, just carry himself a little bit differently in general. Obviously, he could build himself up like this guy did. But people like physical attraction. People like those that they find attractive. And watch the way that these guys interact here.
It's sad, but it's true. Whoever cares less has the most power in a relationship. Whoever's the one that's like, well, fuck you more than the other one, they have the power. And I think that's where a lot of that, treat them like dirt, they stick to you like mud, especially if they're insecure, or they got a couple of relationships where they got cheated on. What did I do? How did I fuck up? They're not going to say that, but that's how they feel, and their actions towards that person they're playing that game with, is going to reflect on how they've been hurt, how they've been.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't think that guy's Scott Kramer after all. But yeah, so there is some truth to that as well. Like, especially like the person who cares the least has the most power. It's true. It's also why, and the reason for that though is because the person that wants to cling on to the relationship is going to be the one that has the less power, the one that can leave. But I mean, it's the same with any friendship. It's the same with the job market. Your job generally need your job generally more than your job needs you specifically. They can go and find someone else to work your job. You might have a harder time finding another job. That happens. If you are somebody who either doesn't have options or you don't know that you have other options, you are going to have a harder time. But somebody that knows that they have other options is going to have an easier time in that respect. And this is why I have issues when people say like, oh, older men dating younger women is problematic, and men with a lot of money dating women who don't have money, like it's problematic. It's like, well, maybe, but the guy that's older and or has a lot of money, if he doesn't have a lot of other options, or we'll just take like a schlubby dude in general who like maybe a woman settled for, if he doesn't have a lot of other options, she has the power in that situation, not him. Like, sure, he has the money and he's bigger and stronger and all that, but obviously she has the social power, but she has the power where she can just leave. She can just bail, and find someone else. She can, or if she's a shitty person, she can find someone else while still holding on to that guy. But yeah.
There's also definitely like, Brandon, like, I don't know if you've ever had an instance where like maybe a girl's been acting up, let's say, and you check her, and then she's like turned on, like she becomes more attracted to you when you check her. And sometimes they'll do that intentionally to test you.
Girls do that.
100%.
100%. But it's like, to me, that's like, you want to be put in your place.
Subconsciously, women. Okay, so way back in the day,
it's hot.
Campaign for it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So notice, right? So they start, and people pointed this out in the comments too.
Subconsciously, women. Okay, so way back in the day,
it's hot.
Yeah. So like,
for it.
they're all like, okay, yeah, it's hot because it is. It is generally attractive. Okay, it's kind of like, the dominant and submissive dynamic. Typically, men are more dominant, women are more submissive. I tend to fall into that category where I'm more dominant. A lot of men tend to be, and again, a lot of women tend to be more submissive. Now, a lot of people will extrapolate this, and they'll want somebody who's like submissive all the time. I would not want that. But a woman who's submissive in bed, like that is, yes, that's incredible. That's extremely attractive. Absolutely. But a woman who's like completely submissive and like is only doing things like that I tell her to do, there are entire communities of people. There's this thing, for example, called bratting, where a woman will be like completely submissive to the man, and he'll just pick out like some where they'll even like pick out their clothes for them. And like, look, if you're into that, that's fine. It's not. No, I don't want any part of stuff like that. I want somebody personally who has their own stuff going on in life, is their own person, and all that stuff. Not to say that brats necessarily aren't, but it's a kink thing. But in any case, and I don't kink shame. But in any case, there is truth to women tending to find a man that puts them in their place more attractive. It's like there was that TikTok trend of the men like going up to a woman. Let me see if I can find the. Here, we'll go back to TikTok. Can I just make your day, TikTok? Oh boy. Okay. Are these the ones? What the hell? Not baby. Baby? What? No, I said man, didn't I? Where's the... Is this it? No. Come on, man. It was like a whole thing. It was like it was a trend on TikTok for a while. Let me find... Oh, here we go. No, we're not going to have the audio. So, like, this is a whole trend on TikTok, right? Where these guys would, they'd be like, all right, put your hands like this. And then they'd put their hands, and they liked it. Now, you can say, oh, this is staged, this is da-da-da. And look, maybe some of it is, but generally speaking, look at the reactions. Like, they love this stuff. Women often, not all the time, but often do prefer men to be more dominant, and men tend to prefer men to be more submissive. Does it happen where it's the other way around? Absolutely. Does it? Why are we just showing the same? Okay. Does it happen where both are switches or something like that? Sure. But generally speaking, this kind of stuff is attractive. Did they?
Can you not right now?
Babe, what are you doing?
I don't want to do it right now. Just rub my feet.
I don't want to do it right now. Yeah, because it turned her on. She's like, I don't want to do it right now. Like, I don't want to be turned on right now. So it's like, what is this one? Oh, that's cute. I think it's a lesbian couple. Yeah, like, that's just generally the way it goes. Wait, what was that?
Okay. Oh! Nice.
That's cute. Yeah, so like...
Oh, what is on my arm?
Yeah, that's cute. Yeah, so like, it is true that oftentimes women love that shit. But you can do these things. You can be, more, masculine and attractive and all those different things and exude what's known as sexual dimorphism without being an asshole. And that's the key thing that people miss when they talk about, oh, girls only like bad boys. Like, no.
I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry.
I
got to say it.
Can you guys just be well-adjusted?
Back to the caveman days. Back to the caveman days. What did they do? They took the woman, beat her over the head with the club, drug her in the cave. I texted you about this. Goddamn. They drug her in the cave, made her his. Not that that's where she's supposed to be or where it needs to be, but genetically, women have a programming in their mind where they're expected at some point to be dominated, whether it's in the bedroom, being slapped, choked, whipped, all that shit, or hey, check. You know what? Don't like verbally check them. Maybe not embarrass them or belittle them, but put them in their place. Subconsciously, I feel women desire that. And
yeah, I like the way that I like the way he's discussing this too, because even saying like, not that women, should be like, put in their place or whatever, but like there's a part to them that desire that. I don't know if I agree. When it comes to things like, God, what is it called? Like social evolution or whatever that's called, things like that. That can be a bit dicey and a bit, kind of unspecific on like we don't really know a lot of that stuff, but and I don't know how much of that is biological and how much of that is, what's the word I'm looking for here? Socialized. You know what I mean? But whatever the case, whether it's socialized, whether it's biological, whatever the case, he's right. It is true that, yeah, if you want to be successful with women, it does help to exude these traits, to be these ways. Absolutely, 100%.
Women don't get it in a dialogue, in a social dialogue, they're going to get it in the bedroom. They're going to get dominated one way or the other, or they're just not satisfied, period.
It turned into hate sex.
Caveman slay.
A1.
Yeah, we're taking it back prehistoric.
No, I'm not saying that like this is what should happen. This is right.
But it's what the caveman did, so we should do it.
No, it's not really what we should do. It's genetically.
But it's in our minds. We can't get rid of it.
Right.
I can't unprogram my cavewoman mind.
You can't.
I just want to get clubbed.
Brandon, can I ask you a question?
You want to be dominated.
I think she's mocking him.
Oh, wait, you're talking.
What the hell was that?
Cavewoman mind.
You can't.
I just want to get clubbed.
Brandon, can I ask you a question?
You want to be dominated.
Oh, wait, you're talking about when you drink.
Do you want to be dominated?
No, wait.
Brandon he loves it. He just came out.
What?
By the way, just real quick, there's nothing wrong if a man does. Oh, did I not do the? I didn't do the thing. My bad. Forgot to switch it back. I hate when I do that. By the way, though, there's nothing wrong if a man does want to be dominated. You know, whether it be even if by another man. You know, nothing wrong with that.
That's totally derailing the conversation. By the way, I like how classy this wine is here. Do you, when you drink the wine, do you take, is your pinky out? Like, how do you do it? How do you do it when you drink? Just do a little pinky out?
Little sip.
Oh, classy.
Okay.
You guys need to get a room now.
Whoa.
Take Kiki with you.
Oh, yes. Devil's threesome if there's ever been one.
Back to being dominated.
What about women who like to dominate men?
Not my tango.
But
I feel like Sydney wants to just like put on a black spandex suit and just
I like that they bring this up too, and the women are even like, "What about?" Yeah, I like that.
dominate dudes.
Programming her?
I get that impression from her, right, Sydney?
No.
How do you girls feel about what I said? Can I ask that question? How do you feel about what I said? Do you find it offensive, or do you think there's truth behind
let's
it?
start. Emma, what's your take on
what?
On what Brandon is saying?
Specific.
It's interesting that they didn't answer her question though about what about women that like dominating men. They just kind of brush it aside.
How women genetically have it in their mother, hardwired. At some point, they need to be dominated, even if they resist it. Like, man, throw women, like I'm all for it, whatever, women power.
Sure.
But at some point in time, they're not going to be satisfied unless they're dominated, either socially or in bed.
Okay, but what is that based in? Based on like you're saying based in biology and like evolution? Why is it something that we have hardwired in us?
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree. Again, that it's like a biological hardwired thing, or that it's not true for everybody. It's true for a lot. Like this is the problem when you speak in generalizations. Like it's odd because like you want to give advice, and you do want to speak in generalizations when it comes to this stuff, but you don't want to essentialize either. You want to generalize but not essentialize. But yeah, I think he's doing a pretty good job overall.
Do you think that's an offensive point of view for a guy to say, or do you think there's some truth to that?
I think the girls are too.
I'm not personally offended by it, and I see where you're drawing that from. I think there's quite a logical fallacy behind that. I don't
Explain that fallacy, just briefly.
I would say that there's a lot of things that back in caveman days we were hardwired and programmed for that
was a very loose analogy.
Right, but in terms of evolution and how society's advanced, like there's a lot of things that we've outgrown. And I mean, I think at the end of the day, like sure, we have very primitive urges, the urge to procreate, the urge to.
Well, I mean, yeah, she's right about here because like, there was a time. I mean, assault, like, this kind of assault, is a biological, like, a thing that, like, a biological natural thing, but that doesn't make it right. But at the same time, though, homosexuality is a natural thing as well, and that doesn't make it wrong. So just because something's natural doesn't make it right or wrong or anything like that.
Survive. All these things are basic survival instincts. I would say, as generally speaking, I don't think that I can confidently say every single woman has the urge to be dominated.
No, just you.
Personally, I prefer a man that's dominant. But again, I would say that with my personality, I'm pretty abrasive, so I kind of like to be, the boss. I kind of like to run the show.
Pull your dick out sometimes.
Totally.
And, like,
If it's a big dick contest, I'm winning.
Okay.
That's so funny. So that's very much a stereotype as well, where you'll have like the man who's what is it? God, what am I? I'm losing track of like all my like phrasing and like titles and stuff. But you'll have like the typical like businessman type of guy, who is very much like the boss at work, and then he gets to he goes and sees like a dominatrix or something like that, right? It's a stereotype, but a lot of stereotypes do exist for a reason like that. It's true as well where you'll have the woman who's very much like a girl boss type, and in bed she wants to be absolutely dominated because it's freeing, especially for somebody who's like constantly on top of everything. It's very freeing to be able to just lose that control and be like, I don't like just do whatever. You know what I mean? Like just I want you to just like completely take control here because I don't want to I don't want to be in control. I'm so used to being in control with all this stuff. I don't want to be in control here. Like, that does happen as well.
I think I can put a man in his place just as much as he
But
can
when you're in
put
the
me
bedroom, if you meet a guy and he's not willing to choke you or
nice.
pull your hair
Right.
or get very
I think I'm
physical
very
with you,
bossy and I like to boss guys around.
In the bedroom?
No, and then in the bedroom. That's the only time where I'm not.
I don't know if we should clap for the first part, though. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Jeez, it's a 4-hour podcast? God damn. Yeah. So I want to look at this one other thing here.
How long are you willing to wait to give it up to a guy?
Okay, I don't like the phrasing of we don't. Well, it's only a minute long. Still. Yeah, I don't like the. Okay, this is a semantic, but I really don't like the phrasing of give it up, because you're not giving up anything. You're just having an experience with somebody. You're just having a very physical, intimate experience that most people want. So I mean, like, I don't like the phrasing of like give it up, but whatever.
A year or two.
She say what?
It has to be a good amount.
Yeah.
You'll know whenever you're ready. I don't think there's
I would say a year.
You'll wait a year to give it
I'll
up to a
fucking
guy.
wait a year.
So you're gonna go sleep with no.
I definitely agree with the one that says he'll whenever you're ready. But yeah, this one's like a year.
No. You talk to that guy and wait for a year.
Yeah.
Who did you wrong? I don't know. You guys that wait for a year.
They'll wait if they want to.
Yeah, if it's the right one, they'll wait.
Honestly, nowadays, that's all they want. That's why you gotta be a little bit.
But when you say it's like kind of hurting y'all, if you're like you're not testing out his engine. Like let's say you waited a year and you decide, okay, let's bang. You find out he's not good in bed or he's small. You don't think that was a waste of time?
No.
Whoops. What did I? Okay, that's another thing.
How long are you willing to wait to give it?
Okay, so yeah, you see how that kind of thing goes and everything, and then some of the comments here. 1 year for the right guy, but one night stand for the wrong guy. Like this is how these guys think, and in a way, they're right, because the reality is when it comes to being attractive and getting dates or getting laid or whatever it is you're looking for, it isn't about finding the one, and it isn't about any of that other bullshit. It's about being the one. It is true, and some people get really mad about this, but it is true that a girl will absolutely date or hook up with or whatever for the right guy, the right kind of guy, the guy that ticks her boxes. But that's true for a lot of men too. Now, of course, if they have like religious things or whatever the case, or whatever the reason that they might want to be holding out or whatever, like, okay, fine. And if you're in a situation where you don't want to wait and they do, then hey, you're probably not a good match, and you just say, okay, cool, no worries, see you around, that kind of thing, right? But it really is just about communication and just standing firm in what you want and what you don't want. And there's nothing wrong with having boundaries and values and all that stuff. And just as much of a boundary can be, I don't hook up on the first date, which, by the way, a lot of women will say, and again, for the right guy, it's not actually true, or it'll be like a shit test, and it's a whole other thing. We'll get into that another time. But it's also true that like guys can be in that same position, and whether you're a man, a woman, cishet, whatever you are, like you can be, you can also have it's also a boundary to say, I do want to date somebody who is, sexually free and open and is willing to and wanting to have sex early on into the relationship, even if that is like the first date. If that's a boundary you want to set for yourself, you want to say, I don't give a girl a second date or another date or what have you until we have sex. Or if you're a girl and you say that about a guy, like that's fine. You can have boundaries and standards and all that, like that's fine. But like communicate that, be honest about that, and it is what it is. But it's very easy to see this stuff and to become very discouraged about how women talk, how they, how they talk in like socially acceptable ways versus how they'll talk in, say around with their girls or around a guy that they don't really care what they hear. I've been in that situation where I've been around women who have just openly talked about just the filthiest things they would want to do to like a specific guy or celebrity or whatever the case, all that stuff. And a lot of guys will hear this stuff and they'll get like really upset about it because I think for one, their like version of this like Madonna woman doesn't actually exist, and they're like shattered by it. But this is why I very much promote things like well, one, of course, working on yourself, building yourself up to have the deck stacked in your favor as much as possible. And I also very much support things like slut praising as opposed to slut shaming, because like women are absolutely like just as like filthy and perverted as men. Like on a broad thing, yeah. It's just that a lot of women are shamed out of it, and a lot of these issues that men deal with that are either not properly addressed by, we'll say, just the mainstream media, and there are certain people even on the left that are very against discussing some of this stuff. All it does is hurt them, and it pushes them to the right, and it pushes them to be more hateful of women, more hateful of progressivism, and all these different things, when in reality, in a lot of ways, those are the things that they need. But we also need to be understanding, empathetic, and supportive of people who are dealing with legitimate issues and legitimate fears and concerns. Because while a lot of them are overblown, there's still validity to them. There's still a reason why men are afraid of this stuff. And you got to think, if you're constantly consuming content that's telling you how, like that Tribe of Men channel, where like all the content is just how bad women are basically all the time, similar to a lot of like men going their own way channels, you're constantly consuming that, it's going to really put you off. And there are people that just absolutely hate women, and there are people that absolutely hate men, and both are completely wrong. And there are people that completely discount things like men's mental health, and it's just it's sad. It's very sad. It's very sick. And yeah, we really need to take care of it. So if any of you kings are listening and watching, then keep your head up and keep your crown on. Take care of yourself. Build yourself up. Do what you can for whatever you're looking for in a relationship, whether it be casual, long-term, short-term, whatever. Build yourself up to have the life and the type of relationships you want, not just with women, but with people in general, and especially with yourself. The most important relationship you have is the one with yourself. And yeah, I'm nowhere close to done to talking about this kind of stuff. I know some people on the left especially get mad about this kind of stuff, but like, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about men's issues, women's issues, everybody's issues. We got to talk about, issues and how to address them, things that need social change, social reform, whatever the case. But we're not going to get anywhere with people demonizing one side or the other. It's not going to lead to healthy discourse in the slightest. So, yeah. As always, these are my thoughts. Let me know what yours are in the comments down below. Follow me on social media for more. Subscribe, ring the bell to stay up to date. Leave a like if you like. And if not, I hope you find something you do like. Take care of each other out there, guys. Peace and love.